Machete.
Go for it right here. And it's a foot race. Robinson and Brown. And it's Robinson who wins it. Oh, it is picked off on Amukamara. Can he get past it? Picked off on Amukamara. Can he get
The press release.
Go for it right here. And it's a foot race. Robinson and Brown. And it's Robinson who wins it. Oh, it is picked off on Amukamara. Can he get past it? Picked off on Amukamara. Can he get
The press release.
Yo, what's good? This is the press release, episode 8. I'm your host, Pro Bowl wide receiver Allen Robinson, with my co-host, Super Bowl champion Prince Amukamara. What's good, bro?
What is good, man? What is good is not my Huskers, but lots to be talked about today.
Hey, listen, it is. And I was gonna say, bro, every time I watch that intro, bro, I'll be like, hey, man. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Birdman palm rub. Every time I watch that intro, I ain't gonna lie to you.
You talking about the meme?
Yeah, bro.
The GIF? GIF?
Bro.
That's funny.
Hey, listen, man. I know I could go out there and get a buck. I know I
Yeah.
can. I've been watching games on Sundays. I know I can, but that's another conversation for another day.
Right.
You started off. You said Huskers lost. Penn State also. Another loss.
I did not know that.
Yeah, bro.
Wow.
Lost to Iowa by 1 at Iowa. Tough stretch coming up for us, man. We got Ohio State this week, and then we got Indiana next week. So the road doesn't get any easier for us until we see you guys, the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
We'll see about that.
So,
Oh
but
my
tough road
gosh.
for us, man. Listen, man, it's been a rough fall for Penn State football.
Yeah.
Everybody's been asking me, where do we go from here? I have no idea. I'm just focused on the 2026 season. The coaches that we can possibly bring in.
Hold on. You're saying you're
Recruits.
focused on the 2026 season, like the next season?
Yes.
You're not focused. So you got the season as a wash.
Yeah. This season done, bruh. This season behind me, way on my
So
back.
so you're not even. You don't try to
Listen.
think about going to a bowl game. It's either college playoffs or bust.
Transfer portal guys, we have a hell of a program. Facilities are immaculate. It's a great place to play. Same with high school recruits for the ones that we will be recruiting once we kind of get our legs up under us with our coaches and everything like that. Like I said before, man, if y'all are being recruited by Penn State, bro, if y'all got any questions or anything, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Listen, bro, I'm one of Penn State's biggest advocates. You know, I'm trying to make sure as much as I can and do whatever is needed and necessary to make sure we land the first coach, and then the ball can start rolling for what we're doing next season. But I mean, you guys, Matt Rule said it. Nebraska is a very young team, so he kind of seemed as if he was looking forward to 2026 as well. I mean, he didn't say that, but and he kind of corrected himself. He's like, I mean, obviously we're going to compete this year and we have high hopes for this year, but he was like, we have a really young team and I'm excited for the future. So it looks like we're both looking forward to 2026.
And also with the recruiting, you guys got to recruit your own locker room too, because some of those guys were James Franklin guys. Some of those guys they got their eyes elsewhere. The grass is looking
for sure. For sure. I mean, listen, man, you know how it is now with the way that the transferring is and transfer portal, it's constantly, it's everybody's always open. You have to recruit your own, that's this circumstance or last year going to a playoff, you still have to recruit your own, so, I mean, we're kind of accustomed to that, but, in better news, last week's guaranteed picks hit.
Again.
People out there, they made bread, and I even told people now that you got NBA kicking off as well, you can use our guaranteed picks to build a solid foundation for a parlay. Again, I saw some people today using some of the picks from last week and then trying to put in some NBA games for today and stuff like that to really build them a nice little parlay. So if you do want to tap in with us, man, we drop on Thursdays. Come check us out. The guaranteed pick selection, and that's why you got to tune in. I can't give it to y'all without y'all going to watch the episode. Just know that we got the guaranteed picks, and people are hitting and making money. So to kind of move back towards last week, did you watch what they called the Unc-tion?
No.
The Unc-tion.
No.
Bengals versus the Steelers. Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
They calling them Uncs.
The Unc-tion. Wow.
They called last Thursday the Unc-tion.
Yeah.
I'll say this, man. I'll be the first one. I have to sing the praise as much as I say that didn't matter when the trade happened, because I did say that. The Joe Flacco news, man. Joe Flacco went out there and spun it, and and I'll say that the Bengals offense looked more in tune than they have in the last few weeks. Obviously, they had Jake Browning, and he didn't look comfortable back there, man. But Flacco, he was getting the ball out on time. Jahmyr Chase, I think, had 20+ targets. T. Higgins almost had 100 yards. Both of them had touchdowns. I think between those two guys, they had around 250 yards of total offense. Not to mention the pass game jump-started the run game, because their running back had a phenomenal game as well. So, I mean, man, shout out to Joe Flacco, man. And, I gotta take my words back, man, because he looked good, man, and he had them rolling. Man. And to be honest, both of the Unks look good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers did as well. He looks mobile. He was throwing this thing around. But
throwing his thing around, bro. Chill out.
Hey, man, I guess I gotta pause now. I guess we pausing, but the Steelers secondary.
Ooh.
I mean, granted, and I say that because I feel like the Steelers secondary was handpicked to kind of match up with the Bengals. I think ideally, as the Steelers are kind of in their offseason prep and trying to make the team better and improvements, I think that they have the Cincinnati Bengals in mind defensively as far as rushing and cover, being able to get to Joe Burrow, and then also on the back end, keeping a lid on T. Higgins and Jahmyr Chase. So for you as a secondary guy, what is it like as far as being in zone? Are you trying to just, trying to cause as much havoc as possible? Are you taking chances situationally, or where do you see yourself trying to create an advantage for yourself in a game like that, going up against two stud receivers like that?
Yeah, I mean, with zone, you either want to pressure, you're hoping that the D line gets pressure, and you kind of want to keep the ball in front of you. And when you are in zone, you get to have your eyes on the quarterback. You get to have your eyes on the ball. And so zone is for making plays. And the Steelers were a little bit short in that. I mean, and I heard some post interviews, and as a DB, I mean, I'm a little biased, but some of those calls were, I feel like, and you're going to be biased too, but I feel like, for example, Jalen and Jahmyr, like, on the 1 yard line or whatever, they were like tussling, and they threw a fade, and it's like those can go either way and stuff like that. And you heard Joey Porter Jr. mention something about how the refs were, but you see how Jalen handles it, and he says, "Yo, I got to be better. I got to make those plays. The refs are going to do what they're going to do, whatever." So it was tough, but I mean, you can't take away from Jahmyr Chase. He had a great game, and when you have a veteran quarterback like that, I mean, it's the same thing Carson Wentz is doing with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. They just get the ball to those playmakers, because a quarterback's best friend is the top wide receiver. He's going to make him look good. So just throw the ball his way, help him make a play, and you're going to look at it. And so I knew Joe Flacco, like, that was going to be the game plan. Let me see how many times I can get the ball to number one. Let me see how many times I can get the ball to T. Higgins. And it worked. It worked well for him.
For sure. And, at the end of the day, I was actually back home in Detroit this past weekend, and I was watching the games, plural, with my parents. And I'm like, I don't remember getting all these illegal contact, defensive pass interferences called for me. And I say that because as of being a bigger body receiver And when I think of the same way with Julio Jones, Dez Bryant, I don't remember all these calls being called on some of these back shoulder plays. And I don't know if that's because it was more of a bigger receiver league a little bit. So, the back shoulders, and because I told my pops, I said, man, me in my prime, I probably was thrown maybe 5 or so. I'll probably say 3 to 5 go balls almost a game. And seeing the clip at which DPI is being called at now on any underthrown ball, I mean, it's pretty significant, man. And I actually was on Sirius XM talking to somebody about that call and if they felt like it was giving the offense a significant advantage. And at that point in time, I said I didn't think so. But as I'm watching more games, man, if it's underthrown, it's almost guaranteed DPI at this point.
Well, you see, you receivers, I'm sure you guys are taught, if it's underthrown, work your way back to the ball so because the corner, we're running or we're by you and we can't see the ball. So
Definitely. I mean, we're taught to
get back to it.
We're taught to get back to it because, I mean, at the end of the day, too, we want the yards over the DPI first and foremost. I mean, man, come on, man. We receivers, man. We stat guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we're the ones probably as a group that check the box score maybe the most, after the game, just to kind of see where we're at with it. But, moving on to my favorite segment, we actually got one this week. Chiefs and Raiders. BTA, man. I'll say this. We kind of spoke before this game a little bit, and the chemistry, the camaraderie, where the Kansas City Chiefs are at right now, I think they're becoming a real threat. And I mean, when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you're always a threat. But I think now, with the cohesiveness that they have, man, Raiders got BTA, man. I mean, the Chiefs did what they wanted. Rasheed Rice came back. He scored 2 touchdowns. And the Raiders offense just could not seem to get going. And, they were without Jacoby Meyer, who is their best receiver, who should be paid, by the way. But that's another conversation. But, I mean, where do the Raiders go from here? Because we spoke to our first episode with a veteran coach, veteran quarterback. They're in win now mode. And based on where their record is at right now, we're getting to that point in the season where you're either in the lower third, the middle third, or the upper third. And unfortunately, some teams that's in the middle third, they be having them like they like nose blind, or they got like on them little glasses where they don't realize they're really in the bottom third. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right. I feel like the Raiders are kind of there, and I say that because I mean we're getting around the trade deadline. I mean, would you consider them to be like a buy or sell team at the trade deadline? Can they salvage this season? Is this season over? I mean, they're in a tough division.
I mean, I would say the Raiders, what we call, they're open for business. I mean, we saw the rumors luring about Max Crosby being dealt maybe to the Cowboys, and I'm looking at their schedules right now. I mean, they got Jaguars, Broncos, Cowboys, Browns, Chargers, Broncos, Eagles, Texans, Giants, and Chiefs. I mean, yeah,
it's a tough schedule.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule, and I think they're going to be open for business. And obviously, Jerry has planned for this with the trade of Michael Parsons, and so we're going to see. I mean, I think that story is going to grow a little bit more legs as the weeks go. But
I'm very curious and interested to see, because I mean, the Raiders have said now that they're closed for business on multiple occasions. Obviously, we saw today as well that Jacoby Meyer said that he would like to be traded. That would be his preference, but he's a professional. And I mean, we haven't really heard of any news of him or anything like that. So the same with Max Crosby. They said that they weren't open for business on that front as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these next couple of weeks play out. Again, I think that this is a very pivotal time here because teams make that change over the last 10 days. We spoke to last week to say, are the Giants a contender? I mean, now being 2-5, going into the Philadelphia Eagles game, they're a team that 10 days ago may have been in more so of a bye mentality. But based on last Sunday and now coming into this week at 2-6, I don't think you're in a buy mode by any means. So I feel like a lot of teams are kind of in that, again, middle third for what they would consider to be maybe still in contention. But in reality, I think they may be kind of out of it as far as trying to buy to improve the team. But we got games balls this week. We just spoke to these two teams. Well, to this team in particular, Bengals versus the Steelers. Jahmyr Chase, I think he had like 16 for 161 and a touchdown. I mean, he dominated the game. It was some 2-minute drives in there that he just couldn't be stopped. And I wanted to ask you this because, and we'll kind of talk about this team in particular, but since we're on 2-minute offense and 2-minute drives, the Giants actually did it once again. They allowed teams to get yards to put themselves in a position to score the ball. We saw the Steelers play up tight. T. Higgins caught a go ball and then went down to kind of seal the game and went into straight church mode and kicked the last second field goal. So what as you're watching these games, what are you thinking, or kind of how are you processing the information in 2 minutes as far as what's going on? Because again, I mean, it doesn't seem to be some of these times late in the games. It seems very difficult for guys to be able to get stops. And I think you hear the coaches say one thing and you hear the players wanting something else. How cohesive is that, like towards the end of the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's situational, right? So 2 minutes, the offense in 2-minute offense, you have to understand what the offense is trying to accomplish. Like what does the offense need? Do they need a touchdown? Do they need a field goal? And that determines what type of coverage you play. Meaning, if you're going to be more aggressive, if you're going to play man, if you're going to play zone, and so if they need a field goal, that means everything. If they need a field goal, that means everything is on the table. Every yard counts. Every inch counts. Meaning we have to play tighter coverage, and then you bring in timeouts, right? 2-minute warning and all that. And so I think it really depends on the situation. But one thing about Vic, who I think did it right, is he always knew. He was very, very savvy on what to dial up. He'll mix in some pressures. Like, he hated having the quarterback just sit there
That
and
was my
just do
next
what they
question,
want.
because I saw Brian Burns in that particular game say, like, man, we dropping 8. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what, as a DB,
He
are you preferring, like, listen, like, I'll just kind of like, sit on some of these routes. We can get pressure. I'll just try to, I know the ball is coming out in a pretty quick manner. Or are you like, nah, like, let's drop 8, man, and try to take everything away that we can? What do you feel as a corner? What did you prefer, and what do you think is most ideal, pressure or coverage?
love pressure. I mean, because the ball has to come out. And Brian Burns, he did put out a statement and said that his statement was taken out of context, but he didn't mention how we should have taken it. But always pressure. You gotta live and die with pressure. You gotta hope that like, you want the quarterback to make a decision fast. And so the lowest percentage ball we know is a go ball. And so if, like, yeah, I mean, I would do zero. I'd throw in some zero just so they know what's to come, and we know the answer to that is like a quick screen or a jailbreak screen or whatever. But I always live and die by pressure.
Well, I think that, again, we watched now the Giants lose a couple games like that. But now moving on to the next game ball, Patriots, Tennessee Titans. Drake Maye, man, he played
Yeah,
phenomenal,
playing
man.
great.
I think he had only a couple incompletions. They started out slow, but then they picked it up, and um, he broke completion records as far as in a game minimum. I want to say minimum 15 throws or so, man. But are the Patriots a true contender in the AFC?
100%. I mean, that game meant a lot. I mean, Mike Vrabel's not going to show it, but I'm sure that game meant a lot to him. He's going back to see his ex girlfriend or whatever, and he wants to show, hey, like, you should have never fired me, you should have never let me go. And I think he did that. Like, that was a beautiful game, and I think it's great to see. You start to see teams starting to click,
Yeah,
right?
at this
Starting
time of year,
at
especially.
this time of the year, yeah, you're starting to see teams like put it all together. Coaches say all three phases are playing on one accord. defense, special teams, and offense. And you're starting to see that, and those are the teams that are starting to be real contenders, which I'm sure we're going to start talking about who's a contender and who's a pretender. But yeah, I mean, you got to tip your hats to the Patriots, and they're going to make a run for that division title. I mean, it's them or the Bills.
I agree, and it's also very interesting because we see how hard it is to come across good coaches in the NFL. You see Tennessee now, and where they're at, coming off of Mike Vrabel, and you now see where Vrabel is at, leading this New England Patriot team. So just kind of being able to see how much of an impact a coach can have on an organization and what they can do. But moving on to the next game ball, Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders, man. I had to give it to the entire Dallas offense, man. Dak is playing lights out. We saw CeeDee Lamb come back and now join George Pickens, man. That's looking like one of the best 1-2 punches in the league. And I think what benefits them is they complement each other, and it's funny because, you would always say you weren't really too concerned with some of the shiftier receivers, more so the George Pickens. The dudes who can go up and catch go balls over the shoulder, back shoulder, high point, man. And I can only imagine for DBs out there, I mean, they're giving them fits, man. And what I saw the camaraderie with the Dallas Cowboys offense and team that I hadn't saw in a long time, man. They were making plays. They all were excited for each other. They was talking trash. George Pickens dancing before the game, man. If you were a DB on that defensive side of the ball, man, I mean, how would you feel about these matches? You'll be losing a little bit of sleep, huh?
I gotta earn my money. Yeah, I gotta earn my money. I have to understand that there are times that we are going to need to call man, and I have to step up. And it's not one of those where safety can help me because there's 1A, 1B or whatever, 1A, 1A. There are two number ones out there, and yeah, there's no help. You gotta earn your money, and it's gonna be tough for. I mean, it's rare. I mean, how many teams would you say have two number ones? I mean, what, Detroit, Cincy, and Eagles maybe?
Eagles, Detroit, Cincy, Eagles, Dallas.
Yes.
And I would say the Rams.
Okay, yes, 100%, the Rams. And so, but then how many teams have two number one DBs?
Not many.
That's what I'm saying. And
well,
so,
I will say this, though, because do you know who that other DB is that's going to have to stop the other number one?
Who, the safety?
Whoever you paying up front to get to that quarterback.
Oh yeah.
When I was in Los Angeles, I used to ask our DC at the time. I used to ask him, "Hey, coach," because we used to watch film sometime, and you see a 7 route come open late. Like, who got this 7? And actually, it was a Raheem at the time. Who got this 7? You know what he used to say?
Aaron Donald.
Yeah. Aaron Donald is the one who's guarding that 7.
Yeah,
and once you put it into perspective, it's like, man, I mean, that's a great point. That's the only person that can kind of help mitigate 2 ones. And so I want to go to you again as a DB going into a game like that. What does your week of prep look like? Are you more of a target tape guy, cut up guy, releases? What are you looking red zone? What are you looking at and studying the most to try to give yourself the edge on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at releases. I'm definitely looking at target tape. I want to see, their mannerisms, what they look like when they're getting the ball. Some receivers start tightening up their gloves, like, okay, I gotta. Some of them spit. You know what I'm saying?
You still gotta guard that route, though, even if you know it's coming to him. But you just talking about context clues for you, huh?
100%. Yeah, just pre-snap stuff. And then other than that, I got to see how do they high point the ball? Are they getting it at the highest point? How do they do versus press? Because that's what I love to do. And so, but again, like when I went up against Calvin, I mean, all that don't matter. Like,
it don't.
It's Calvin Johnson, and so you do hope that the rush gets there. You do hope that that you're in 3rd and long situation. So we would love, like, I know 1st down, I'm probably going to be singled outside. 2nd down, probably going to be singled outside. But then 3rd down, I'm hoping it's like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, because now, cover 2 or 2-man. Like I get to rest and stuff like that.
And then I was also going to say, so for you, because you just spoke to some of the specific receivers that may kind of, how many times out of those are you thinking it's a go ball for sure?
Every single time. What you mean? Every single time. If it's 3-by-1 and I'm singled up on the receiver, back is to me. Yeah, I'm thinking go ball. If it's 2-by-2,
Go
I'm thinking
ball.
yeah, four verts and stuff like that.
And that's why for me as a receiver, man, I used to always want to start the game. Throw it deep, man. Let's put
Yeah.
the fear in them right now. They got to know we're coming
100%.
after them. But we're going
And
to
you're
get
gonna
back to
take
that.
shots.
We got another game ball to give out. Lions versus Buccaneers, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh my God, he keeps showing up.
He's a different breed,
Yeah.
man. And I said on NFL Live earlier this year over the summer, Jahmyr Gibbs was like a gently used Ferrari.
Ooh.
And I think the Lions are just now kind of pulling the tarp off of him to now use him more. And I think each and every week you're going to see him come into his own more and more and more because he's such a playmaker, man. Whether
Would you
that's
compare
run
him-
game, pass game.
Would you compare him to more of a Bijan or a Saquon
I would compare him more so like a Chris
or
Johnson.
McCaffrey? Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson.
Oh, wow.
I would compare him a little bit more to Chris Johnson just
Wow.
because he's a guy who in many different instances can be a home run threat and
Yes.
has that as a threat throughout the course of the game.
Gotcha.
So now one of my favorite segments, fantasy or reality. NFC North is the toughest division in football. Fantasy or reality? I mean, you familiar with that division?
We both
Minnesota.
are Bears, Vikings, and Lions.
Yes. Green Bay. You missed Green Bay.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah. Bears, Vikings, Lions. Yeah, and Green Bay. Fantasy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I like how. I mean, I don't think they're that much better than the NFC West, where you got the Niners, Cardinals, Seahawks, and the Rams. And then I also don't think. I mean, I know with all the injury, I can't put an AFC East in there. But yeah, I mean, they're not. It's not that crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantasy or reality? The Colts are the best team in the AFC.
Fantasy. No.
Fantasy.
Yeah, because you still have they're sleepers. I think they're showing that they are for real. They've only been tested I think once, and that was against the Rams. I got to see their schedule, but I think the Bills are still on there. I think the Chiefs are still on there, and I think the Patriots are still on there.
Daniel Jones is playing phenomenal football,
Yes.
but also is Jonathan Taylor, man. Jonathan Taylor right now he's performing like the best back in the league as far as week in, week out, what's being asked of him and how he's contributing. So, I mean, wherever they do fall, I think they'll win their division.
Yeah.
I think they're the most consistent team in the AFC South. But, I mean, I think they're for sure going to be a contender. If they're not the best team in the AFC, I think they're going to be a contender. But fantasy or reality, the Lions are the team to beat in the NFC.
So that's a fantasy. There's no way you put up 3 fantasies in a row. That's a fantasy.
Interesting.
Whoa. You still have, I mean, yes, what they did to, a great Buccaneers team, yes, can't refute it. But I first of all, this team I'm about to bring up, you were biased about the Jaguars out in London. That should have been on BTA because that game. I know that's your team too, but yeah, that game was.
So you like the Rams, is what you're saying?
I think the Rams are. Yes, the Rams are still up there. The Eagles.
And I say that because with the season that Detroit had last year, finished the number 1 seed in NFC and had a ton of injuries down the stretch that kind of hindered them. Granted, they are beat up right now a little bit more so on the back end, but I think that's the difference you're seeing right now on that team is how much the pressure can affect. Last year, you didn't have Hutch. Last year, you didn't have Aleem McNeil for the entire season. You didn't have those guys to be able to create pressure when you may have had some injured players on the back end. It was the opposite. You had the guys that were injured, and you can only cover for so long. So by them being a healthier team all around, I think they're the best offensive team in the NFC as far as overall being complete top to bottom, quarterback, receiver, O-line, tight end, running back. And now with the pressure that the defense is getting and how they've been able to create havoc, I personally think they're going to end up being the number one seed in the NFC. So last but not least on the list, fantasy or reality, Dallas can win the NFC East.
I mean, it's a they can win it. They can win it. Yeah, so it's a reality. It's not. I don't think it's the Eagles. I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't think the Eagles has it wrapped in a bag as of yet. But yes,
And you kind of spoke to it earlier. I think they may make a big move at the trade deadline that may put them in a position to be able to make some noise, not only in that division but in the conference as well. So now moving on to the next segment, we got some hot topics coming up across the league for this week, and this one in particular, the first one, man, meltdown in the Mile High, man. Your squad, the Giants. I was gonna ask you, like, can we give a team like does a team get BTA for a quarter? Like, does that work? I was gonna ask you that, man, but what happened, man? They seemed very dominant and in control, and then it just seemed that it was a runaway train late in that game on the Broncos being able to make plays, because I don't even think it was the Giants not being able to make them, because their last possession of the game, they got the ball down there and scored, but they just couldn't seem to keep a lid on the Broncos late in that game, man. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, that just all goes down to 4-minute offenses and managing the ball, managing the clock. I mean, one thing that Coach Coughlin always preached is finishing games, win the fourth quarter. And I'm sure he said that because there's a stat. I'm sure that there's a stat that says if you win the fourth quarter, if you score the most points in the fourth quarter, your chances of winning the game are super high. And so
it was a stat that I want to say maybe up 10 with under 5 minutes or something like that to go. The Giants were the first team in like over 1,600 times to lose a game like that. Under those circumstances. So like you're saying before, it's very rare, but I want to stay here for a second because there's a couple things that I want to piggyback and ask your opinion on as well. The first one is, last week we spoke to the Giants possibly being wild card contenders if they continued on the road that they were going on as far as winning games and stuff like that. Do you think the Giants would have been in this same position right now if they had started Jackson Dart at the beginning of the season?
And I know that's. I mean, I'm sure that's probably the question. And I mean, I guess we'll never know for sure, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because the way Jackson Dart is running, it's almost like would he have lasted this long? Because I mean, he's been taking hits and stuff, but I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll say I think that even now, and again, this is me being honest, as you're preparing for a season, going through the OTA time, going through training camp, you have so many reps in those 4-minute offense situation, in those in the game situation, and reps that the tools don't really get.
Right.
Speaking early on in the year, saying that how does a rookie quarterback benefit from playing off the get-go and getting the first team reps? It's for situational football. The tools don't get those situations, not nearly as many as the ones get. Being able to look at the clock saying, okay, in this particular instance, what will be better here, a sack or incompletion? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much leash do I have to get the ball? You know, is this absolutely a no turnover situation for me? You know, and the game becomes a possession by possession football game as you get deeper into those kind of games, and you don't get that many reps as the two on those particular situations.
Right. No, you're right. And so yeah, that type of experience, those types of reps, it for sure would have helped him early on. But he's doing a great job learning on the fly,
No,
going
he is. He is.
going.
It's just it's part of the learning curve.
Yeah.
Which, and again, I'm an advocate for. I think if you have a guy who's going to be your guy, I think he should get those reps and kind of start that practice in the maturation process for that early on rather than later. And now just having to learn on the fly a little bit more rather than have been prepped and groomed throughout the spring and training camp. And my next question to you is, in games like that, as a not even as a player and as a spectator, obviously you can't put it on one sole person. But who do you put that on? I mean, is that a
I
player's
mean,
thing? Is that a coach's thing? Do you think they took
yeah.
their foot off the gas? Do you think? And I said that because again, you have. I've been a part of teams where you get in games like that, and the play calling starts to be a little bit more conservative and vanilla on both sides of the ball. You know, it's games where I've been like that on the offensive side. Like, come on, defense. Like, don't just let them dink and dunk up and down the field. You know what I'm saying? Play how y'all was playing earlier. You know, like be
Yeah.
aggressive, send blitzes, you know. And I think offense has the same thing as you as a defense continue to trot back out there on 3-and-outs and stuff like that from conservative play calling. Or do you think it's more so, man, like, you know what I'm saying? We saw, we conquered, oh, snaps. You feel me? They back in the game. Or do you think it
Right.
was one of those kind of things?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all three. I mean, well, first off, the blame. I mean, I'm sure the head coach is always going to take it. The stats, wins and losses, only sticks with two people: the head coach and the quarterback.
Yeah.
Those stats only sticks with those two people. So I'm sure Coach Dayball is going to say it's on him, and Jackson Dart's going to say it's on him. But I mean, when you really look at it, I mean, I think everyone is to blame. Like you said, playing conservative on offense and on defense, and when you play conservative, the players might not be playing conservative, but just the calls. Like for example, there could be a situation where defense should be in man and playing tighter coverage, but for whatever reason, play cover two, keep the
Yeah.
ball in front of us. They call it bend but don't break defense. Like it's just little chunk of yards. Next thing you know, they're in the red zone, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of time on the clock. And then they score, then boom, 3-and-out again. Now they get the
Now you
ball.
going back out there.
Yeah, now you're going back out there. So it's tough. And again, people got to understand. All you need is like one play. All they need to do is run a deep ball. And we were just talking about DPI. You get a DPI on first down at the one. Now ball's all the way out
Yep.
to one.
Yep.
It can change. It can change things. So
And my last question for you on this particular topic: have you been on either side of a comeback like that, or allowing 33 points or something like that in one quarter, in the fourth quarter in particular, for a team to come back?
I don't know if you remember this, but the closest one would be on, I think it was Sunday night or Monday night when we played the Vikings. And I remember we were up by like 3 scores, maybe like 17 points.
And who is
And
we at this point?
the Bears.
Oh, the Bears.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we're the
So
Bears.
I was on this team as well.
Yes, yeah. And I remember the reason why
I do remember.
the reason why I remember this is because it happened. It was happening on my side. It was happening to me. I think I gave up like 2 slants for touchdowns, and it's like next thing you know, it's like 3 minutes. It's like 3 minutes left. I'm like, oh shoot! The first time I was like, okay, it's a touchdown. Okay, there's 5 minutes left. Now, maybe we're down by like
Probably
10 or
went 3-and-out.
something. Yeah. Then we get it 3-and-out,
Yeah.
and then they score again. Then I'm like, and they score again on me. Then I'm like, yo,
And now everybody kind of looking at you sideways.
yeah,
Like, come on, Prince.
like, yeah, exactly.
I know how that go, man.
Listen, man, and you don't want to run back to the sideline because you know what's waiting for you.
Yeah,
It's
you
the
know what's
coach,
waiting for
it's
you.
the phone. It's like
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The
So,
phone
yeah,
got to be the worst. See, I
Yeah.
haven't, all my OCs, I haven't had no phone situations, but
Yeah.
I've been a part of seeing some guys in college and stuff grab the phone and try to talk to the coordinator. But moving on to the next one, another hot topic: should the 49ers let Mac Jones roll?
No, yeah, because I was just talking to this about somebody. Remember when the Deflategate happened?
Yeah,
Brady, whatever. And I don't know how Jacoby Brissett or those guys or Jimmy Garoppolo or those guys were playing, but even if they were balling, it don't matter. Good, you got your film out there. Tom Brady's gonna start. They just paid Brock Purdy.
Pump your brakes. Brock Purdy is not Tom
It
Brady.
doesn't make. He's getting
First
paid
and
more than Tom
foremost,
Brady. He's getting paid more than Tom Brady ever got paid. So
that's true.
yes,
But I also think that you're
it's
not.
his first year he got paid. He's not sitting. They're not
Listen,
sitting him.
I agree, but also Mac Jones is a former first round quarterback.
Yeah, we know that.
People
Cool.
believe in the talent, and not only that, we see the circumstances and situations of a JJ McCarthy and a Sam Darnold, a guy who was a former first round draft pick who had the talent, just was in some unfortunate circumstances and situations, and now he's rolling. So this is a young player who had first round talent. So obviously he has the tools to be able to be a guy. And now you have a guy who's a Mr. Irrelevant, but he also has the tools to be a guy. But now you have to compare the two within a Kyle Shanahan system and coaching.
No, great. Look, Mac Jones could be throwing 6 touchdowns a game. What mess? Like, let's be real. I'm being for. Let's be real, A-Rob. You're the GM. You just paid Brock.
Money talks. Money
Yes,
talks.
you just paid Brock. So it's like Matt could be having an MVP season. You could be 6-0. Okay, Brock Purdy gets healthy. What do?
You got to put him in.
Exactly, because if you sit him down, what are you telling Brock?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, and then like, no, there's no way. That's the unfortunate part. That's the unfortunate part about the game, right?
So that's
the politics. Hold on, I want to address the people. That's when people say the politics of the game. That's the politics of the game, because you have a guy that you paid, and I don't care how terrible he is, that guy is going
when he's getting that money on.
Yes, he's getting that money. I mean, we didn't talk about the Jets, but the Jets, I mean, yes, they benched Justin Fields, and you see Tyrod get in. Justin Fields isn't getting paid $50 million.
It's totally different circumstances and situation when it comes to the money in that particular situation. But moving on to the next hot topic of the week. Do the Texans need to shift their focus to next season?
So you mean join that Penn State plan?
Yes. I watched last night's game. Yes. Nico Collins is in concussion protocol. You got the center stepping on CJ Stroud's foot. He can't get a handoff. They getting pressure in the pass game. For whatever reason, something's not clicking with the offense right now. But I tell people all the time, I think a very undervalued thing when it comes to offenses is when you switch coordinators, everybody learning that new system is not created equally.
Yeah, we see that. We saw that with the Eagles early on.
You have different learning curves of the maturation of the offense and how it develops and evolves. Now you're talking about people having to learn formations, things that may have been different terminology last year than this year, checks, audibles, the receivers, O-line, backs in protection, and also the wideouts have to be on the same page with all those things. And when you have turnover to typically a young group, sometimes that can stunt the growth of a young group because they're learning rather than playing. So I think where they're at, they have to really evaluate where they are right now, where they are in the division. Obviously, the Jaguars are a good team in their division, and also the Indianapolis Colts. But I think they should shift their focus. They've been a little bit beat up. Christian Kirk has been out with a hamstring. Nico Collins is now going to join the sideline, being in concussion protocol. So, and, again, I think their main focus has to be keeping CJ Stroud healthy and trying to maybe build upon next season. But I think for them,
can you speak to what does that look like? What does the mentality look like, shifting your focus to next season? I have mine, but I want to hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I came in the league on teams that was focused was shift to the next year already before we even suited up for that year. And for me, it took a while to understand. Me and my boy Alan Hearns would sit there in the locker room sometime like, bro, like, why are we losing? Other teams don't look this bad. Other teams don't have new players on defense each and every week. Like, what's going on? I don't
Yeah, that's it.
understand. And once I realized it as I got later in that season, I'm like, well, later in my career, really, I'm like, man, my first year in Jacksonville and first and second year, we was in a whole rebuild.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it. They focus was already shift to the next season. You know what I'm saying? I'm worried about this season, trying to figure out why we not winning and whatnot. Bro, we had new players coming in the locker room each and every week off
Yeah.
the street starting.
That's what I was
And
gonna say.
so what it looks like is you may see a guy that they're trying to rush back from injury. He may now go on IR and they'll bring somebody in. So that's kind of what that looks like, is guys being IR, and then you have less guys kind of playing injured and things like that, if you will, and you're kind of more so shifting and keeping guys who are healthy a little bit, but you're also still trying to be competitive. But I think at the end of the day, it becomes more of a roster thing and how you're maneuvering through who's up, who's down, who's active, who am I trying to develop players. Older guy that may be banged up, we may put him on IR and give the opportunity to the younger guy. You know, I know that they drafted some young guys on offense last year from Iowa State. I think that those guys maybe should get a little bit more run just to kind of get their feet wet and see what they got. So that's kind of what that looks like. But moving on to the next hot topic of the week, how far can Drake Maye take the New England Patriots?
I think they can go to Super Bowl. They got the defense. They got the leadership on offense. They have the leadership in their coaches. Like I was seeing coaches that was with me on the Giants when we won the Super Bowl, like special team wise and stuff like that. Coach Izzo. So yeah, I think they have it. And you have a guy, a veteran receiver in Stephon Diggs, who's just super determined, super motivating. Like
And I mean, guys like that, sorry to cut you off, but guys like that, as we saw against Buffalo, play their best in the big moments. 100%. So having a guy who's been there before, who's played in those big moments, can kind of rally the troops a little bit when they get into those big games, as we saw, you know what I'm saying, if they wanted to believe it or not, that it was a big game early in the season. But the New England Buffalo game was a big game. And we saw with Stephon Diggs, how well he played and how he carried that group.
Yeah, and when you beat a team like that early on, it does something.
Confidence builder.
Yeah. Like
confidence builder.
You can tap into that. Like you have a Denver team who beat the Eagles, and you have a Giants team who beat the Eagles, but the Denver team is probably like, hey man, like we know how good the Eagles are. We beat them, like fourth quarter.
Definitely, like, and I say that because it's funny. It's funny because, which will kind of segue into the next topic. So I'm gonna kind of move forward and then move backwards a little bit. So the next topic is division in the NFL, buying or selling. Kind of what we just talked about as far as the middle third of the group. And I say that because that's somewhat of the difference, like you just said, when you win a big game like the New England Patriots did against Buffalo, everybody's believing what the coach is saying now. When he's breaking down those things and situations in the special teams meeting, saying, hey guys, if we put pressure on this kicker, he may be bound to miss. And then he missed a couple field goals. Now everybody starts believing the coach a little bit more, as opposed to when you're on the flip side of that, your coach get up there and say stuff every week and you 0-7, man. He don't know what he's talking about, bro. Right. Yeah, bro. He say this every week, bro. We do this. Watch. What are you going to say this week? And guys kind of get in that motto, and kind of that's where that middle third really starts to separate. Yeah. Like I said,
we call it the Charlie Brown phase. Coaches start to sound like wah, 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 wah.
Literally. And that's when your team starts to go south, which is a little bit of the Vegas Raiders, if you will. Obviously, the Jets, who are 0-7, those teams are the teams that kind of came into this, headed into this middle portion of the season, kind of in that middle third, and now they're drifting back to the back third. And you had teams like New England Patriots, who kind of were heading towards that middle third, and now they're heading toward the upper third based on how these last couple weeks have gone. So, I mean, we have now the trade deadline coming up. As we kind of get into some more trade topics next week, as we get closer to the deadline, we'll talk a little bit more as far as where teams stand. But let's get to the rooks that cooked this week. And I don't know how tapped in you were into this game, but Quinshon Judkins, I hope I'm saying his name right, but Quinshon Judkins, man, he's a guy, he was a baller at Ohio State, man. I was talking to one of my buddies last week. I was telling him that he's the best player on the Cleveland Browns offense, and he showed it this week. I believe he had 3 rushing touchdowns, man. The dude's a beast. The dude's a tank. The NFL right now, man, has some real good young running backs coming into the league, and we kind of spoke to earlier in the year on some of the earlier podcasts as far as what can kind of change some of this too high defense to start to get it back to single high, and it's the running backs. Running backs are in control over that, and guys having to now start to bring, go true 7-man boxes and bring that safety down to kind of help defend against the run.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I mean, I've watched him. He's a guy that runs hard, great speed, and a good running game is a quarterback's best friend, and that helps out Gabriel.
And to be a bigger dude, man, he has some swift feet, man. The way he kind of jump cuts in and out of holes, man. He's having a phenomenal year again. I think they're going to continue to lean on him even more with having 2 young quarterbacks, 2 rookie quarterbacks in particular with Dylan Gabriel. And then if we end up seeing Shedeur Sanders, I know they'll still be leaning on Quinshon Judkins as far as being able to give him a heavy dose of carries to kind of lead them in the right direction. But last but not least, for everybody that asked me about it last week, tune in, man. Last but not least, on the show today, we have guaranteed picks for week 8. Like I said before,
this one should be good.
If you're a person who want to, continue to add some stuff to the parlay to get your odds to be even better, this is a great base to start your picks on as you're going through week 8 of sports. Obviously, you have the NFL season. NBA is now popping off. They had just had opening night tonight. The World Series will also be taking place throughout the course of this week. So if you guys are sitting around and try to figure out how do I package together a parlay, start here with our guaranteed picks. First up, we got Bills over the Panthers. The Chicago Bears over the Ravens.
That line, hold on. That money line is crazy.
It is. And Lamar Jackson is pending, but I'll say this. Lamar Jackson did not practice on Monday, coming off of a bye week, which I would say that's not trending in the right direction. But to be honest, the Chicago Bears right now are playing phenomenal football, man. And I think Ben Johnson is finding his footing. His team is believing. I saw some of the locker room videos. We know how exciting it can be in Chicago and how much confidence you can gain in Chicago for winning games. So I'm taking the Chicago Bears over the Baltimore Ravens. Next up on the list, the Atlanta Falcons over the Dolphins. Granted, Atlanta Falcons have been up and down this year, but Miami Dolphins right now, man, they're at the bottom of the barrel, man. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. We saw Mike McDaniels come out and say things about Tua. We've seen Tua been dry snitching on his teammates, man. It's all bad right now for the Dolphins. I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons over the Dolphins. And last but not least, on guaranteed picks for week 8, I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals over the New York Jets.
Yeah, those are solid picks. I like
those. Are solid picks, man. And again, check out the picks. I'm a firm believer in those. I think they're gonna hit. We'll be tuning in next week to see. I'll be in front of my TV Sunday, seeing what we got. Hopefully it's another Birdman hand rub type of day, and that's all we got for this week's episode 8 of the Press Release Podcast. Like I said, follow, subscribe, Instagram, YouTube. And for the people out there who are trying to make some money, tap in with our picks.
Man,
if you want to see the picks, Black Friday is coming too, man. Get y'all cheese up, get some extra money. for Black Friday, and also tune in to the episode because that's where we drop the guaranteed picks on Thursday, and we're not going to show that they hit until Monday. So you got to watch the episode. Tune in with us next week on Thursday. We'll be coming to you again with episode 9. Peace.